Who have you designated to negotiate with?
Wait, I heard that part, but what was the third part?
And I guess just what your hope is, or what you have tasked them with to try to get this done by the Floyd anniversary. I know you would like to get it done, but kind of what has been your mandate to them to move the ball forward?
Well, Karen Bass certainly has received my authorization to proceed with discussions, and they will be having a meeting today. She had nearly 1 year ago, as you know, toward the end of May, George Floyd was murdered in full view. His assassination was something that caused demonstrations, show of support for his family all around the world. Millions of people turned out for days and weeks in some cases, certainly in our country. Beyond the Congressional Black Caucus leadership, it was spontaneous. It was organic. People turned out. And in that period of time, by like the second week of June, Karen Bass introduced her legislation. At that time, when it came for the hearings, I met with the family, and at that time they said to me, Madam Speaker, will you name the bill for our brother? It will mean so much to his daughter. And I said, we will name the bill for your brother. We will name it for George Floyd if it is worthy of his name. We then went through the committee process. By a month, 4 weeks or so after the death of George Floyd, the bill passed the House. Nothing happened in the Senate. The bill came up again this year, and I met with the family again in preparation for it being passed in the House. I have spoken to them by phone. Because of COVID, we're limited in terms of actual meetings, but I have met with them in person, but most recently spoken to them by phone on the day, but actually right before the verdict and then after the verdict. So I have been in touch with them all along, though, long before COVID, but in the course of so many other sad deaths, I have met with the moms, many of the moms involved here. And of course, we serve with one, Lucy McBath. She lost her son. She's an inspiration to us in so many ways. And for years, we have been in touch with the families of victims, and we have promised them, in terms of victims of gun violence, that we will never give up until we pass legislation to stop gun violence. And that is, part of the tragedy of many of these moms who've lost their children, and some of it relates to need for justice and policing. We will bring it to the floor when we are ready, and we'll be ready when we have a good, strong bipartisan bill. And that is up to the Senate, and then we'll have it in the House because it'll be a different bill.
Members are willing to bend on qualified immunity?
We let them have their negotiation. The president, I thought, calibrated his remarks beautifully last night to say, let's continue the negotiation. Yes, sir. What do we got? Okay.
I just wanted to follow up on that. I know you said will your members bend, but some of the more progressive members of your caucus have been pretty outspoken about how they don't like some of the compromises that are being floated. How confident are you that House Democrats, your margin is smaller at this point, that House Democrats will band together and pass something if it passes the Senate?
Very confident. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
What do you see as the legislative path forward on prescription drugs? Do you envision that passing with other proposals in the American Families Plan?
You're far away. Just a little bit louder.
What do you see as the legislative path forward on prescription drugs, even though it was not included in the Families Plan? Could you envision them passing together?
Well, I have been, as I say, almost a generation advocating for enabling the Secretary to negotiate for lower prices. I appreciate your question because it relates not only to a legislative agenda, but the kitchen table concerns of the American people, which is what our legislative agenda is, how it prioritizes that. So there is big interest in our caucus. in the committee of jurisdiction, the committees of jurisdiction, as well among the leadership, that we want to see a path to that. What is in one bill or another is not really what is important. What is the path that we are on to accomplish what we need to accomplish, to do what we said for the people? We would lower the cost of health care by lowering the cost of prescription drugs. We would have lower health care costs, bigger paychecks by building the infrastructure of America in a green way, and we would have cleaner government by passing H.R. 1, the For the People Act. Those are still part of our agenda. In the rescue package, I guess we call it ARP now, but in the rescue package, we did a great deal to lower the cost of health care for America's working families. I'm so proud of what was done in terms of increasing the subsidies for ACA, so many more people, even 100,000 more signing up in the president's extended enrollment period, and I thank him for that. The bigger paychecks. It's really important to note that if you're going to build the infrastructure of America for the future, it's not just roads, bridges, mass transit, that's all very important. It's water systems, it's schools, it's housing, it's broadband, a very significant part of our package that might not have been 10, 20 years ago in a package. Should have been, but it wasn't. So as we go forward, if we're going to build back better, we have to do so with a strong workforce development piece. The personal infrastructure must be built in order for the physical infrastructure to involve everyone in its success. And that's why, whether it's women, minority, people of color, veterans, rural, Native American communities, as well as businesses, must be able to participate in all of that. So it is the question you ask is one that is very supported in our caucus, that we would negotiate for lower prices. When we first did it, way back when, again, you've heard me say this almost every week, in 2005, in our campaign to win back the House in 2006, our 6 for 06 agenda had 6 priorities that we would pass in the first 100 hours. 5 of them became law, 1 did not, because we didn't have 60 votes in the Senate, enabling the secretary to negotiate for lower prices for Medicare. Now we go beyond that, and that those lower prices would be lower prices in the private sector for America's families, not just those on Medicare. So this is a central issue for us. But we are all, to get back to your question, we are all united around what the president put forth last night. It was an agenda for the people. It addressed their concerns, and he did so extending the hand of friendship so that we could do this hopefully in a bipartisan way. But we must get it done. And the shared values that we have in our caucus enable us to discuss our enthusiasms, our exuberances, and see what emerges, and that's called Congress working its will. So I'm proud of every member of our caucus and their ability to weigh the equities in terms of a bill coming down the pipe. Unlike the Republicans who vote against the bill and then show up and take credit. Oh, I voted for restaurants. Oh, you didn't vote for restaurants to have a grant. You didn't. And so a number of them are trying to take credit for something they did not vote for. And that's not unusual. Vote no, take the dough. That's what the Republicans do. But that doesn't help people. What we're there is to have the courage to pass the laws that hopefully are in a bipartisan way, but if not, to make sure we're meeting the needs of the people. And all of these things will come to the floor, every part of it, when they are ready. And I'm hoping that the George Floyd Justice in Policing Act will be soon. Today they are meeting. I think that's great. I pray that they will be successful in a very strong bipartisan way, bicameral way. Thank you all very much.